$24.98.
Sleep well, America! For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Come on. He's yours now.
We got your car, sweetie.
A dealership? I thought this was an online thing.
It looks like you done picked the wrong website, Chief.
It's time to sign, baby.
So you didn't go to a dealership?
No, with Vroom you don't have to.
Never go to a dealership again. Go to vroom.com, buy a car, and we'll deliver it straight to you.
There are never enough hours in the day. So we made classes you can take at any hour. Take online classes anytime, day or night, at University of Phoenix.
Wherever you go this summer, Midas can help get you there. Through July 4th, celebrate your freedom with our $24.99 oil change, including tire rotation. Start your road trip at Midas.com.
This is big. It's the big deal event this Memorial Day. Now get suits starting at $69.99, shirts from $14.99, and more, plus up to 85% off clearance. With these deals, the styles won't last. Only at Men's Warehouse.
Though President Biden tapped Kamala Harris to oversee the migrant crisis, the vice president still won't commit to visiting the southern border. Now, Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich says Harris should be stripped of her responsibility, writing into a letter to the president, quote, "To date, her response to the border crisis has been absolutely abysmal, so I am requesting that she be replaced as your border czar." Mark Brnovich joins us now to discuss. General, welcome.
Thank you, Mike.
Would you elaborate on your concerns regarding Vice President Harris and her handling the situation at our southern border?
It's as simple as this, Mike. The Biden administration has completely ignored law enforcement, whether that's at the local level or whether it's even at the state AG level. And as a result of that, literally hundreds of thousands of people are streaming across our southern border illegally. Since Joe Biden appointed her the border czar, it's been approximately 480,000 people have illegally crossed our southern border. Put that in context. That's like the entire population of Kansas City or Minneapolis, just since she's been the border czar. And as you alluded to in the package earlier, we have seen in law enforcement a dramatic spike in drugs like fentanyl and heroin coming across our border. Drugs are not only going to stay here in Arizona or Texas, that's going to poison neighborhoods throughout our entire country.
So, bottom line, what do you think needs to happen at the border? What should the administration do right away?
Right away, they need to start enforcing the law. We have a lawsuit. One of our lawsuits involves the 1.2 million people that have deportation orders set right now that are not being deported as a result of the Biden administration. That means people that are felons, criminals, arsonists, people accused of sexual crimes are being released into our communities. Second, we've sued the Biden administration because they have to continue to build the wall and they have to continue the Remain in Mexico policy. As a result of those policies, the Biden administration has incentivized people coming here. And that's not fair to anyone. And also, the Biden administration needs to prioritize protecting hardworking taxpayers and not worry about sending hundreds of millions of dollars to Central American countries.
I want to play a clip for you from former acting Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf, and I'll get you to respond.
If you're a minor, you're going to get released into the United States. If you're a family unit, you are likely going to be released into the United States. So what does that do? That incentivizes you to grab a child and try to come across that border and claim that you're a family unit because you know that you will be released into the interior of the United States. And that's your goal at the end of the day. That's your goal, and that's what this administration is facilitating.
Is he correct?
The short answer is yes, he's correct. But once again, I think there's a bigger, broader issue that we need to talk about, Mike. So you have 20,000 kids in custody. And, this is the United States of America, not a third world country. Shame on the Biden administration. Shame on the border czar. But additionally, we cannot lose sight of it is anticipated 2 million people just this year will cross our southern border illegally. That's like the entire state of Nebraska. So this is not just about kids in cages. It is about this dramatic impact that it's going to have on our country, the financial resources that are going to be being used. DHS just issued a contract for $87 million to house people that are coming into this country illegally. So this is going to harm taxpayers. And don't forget, as a former gang prosecutor, federal prosecutor, the cartels make money off every single person crossing that border. They have dramatically increased the drugs coming into our country, and that is going to lead to more overdoses and our kids being poisoned by the junk that's coming into your neighborhood.
I want to squeeze in one more topic, a really hot-button topic in many schools around this country, alarming a lot of parents. Critical race theory. What are your concerns about that?
Me and some of my colleagues sent a letter to the Biden administration. We have concerns over a proposed rule. The Biden administration's Department of Education wants to give money to fund programs that encourage critical race theory. Bottom line is this, Mike. This is the greatest country in the world. It's brought more prosperity and freedom than any other nation in the history of this world. And what you have is these neo-Marxists, these lefties, these AOC types that don't like America. They want to undermine this narrative, and they want to destroy everything that built this country great. And there is a uniqueness in this country, and I would submit to you, the problem is that kids don't need to learn more about critical race theory or 1619. They need to learn more about basic American history, what the separation of powers is, how our constitutional structure is so unique in human history, that a republic was brought here. If we can keep it, it wasn't an oligarchy, it wasn't a dictatorship, it wasn't a religious institution, and this is a unique, great place, and we need to make sure we do everything to protect, and we don't let the Biden administration fund left-wing groups that are trying to undermine America.
Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Mike.
Jordan's King weighs in on the ceasefire between Israel and the Palestinians, saying there needs to be a long-term solution. This says people whose homes and businesses have been destroyed are assessing the damage. Trey Yingst is inside Gaza City with the details. Hi, Trey.
Mike, good afternoon. The United Nations today is launching a coordinated effort to get money and supplies into Gaza following this 11-day conflict that erupted earlier in the month. We know today in Gaza City, the UNRWA Commissioner General gave an update on these plans. He was joined by the UNRWA humanitarian coordinator for the Palestinian territories, who said around 40% of Gaza's population currently lacks access to piped water. The UN agency described this month's conflict as having a more intense air campaign than previous wars. They added there was a lack of coordination to get help into the Gaza Strip. $20 million will soon be released to assist with the new coordination, but a lot of this has to do with foreign money, including that from the United States. The Commissioner General said the Biden administration's plan to partially refund UNRWA is a promising step, but doesn't go all the way.
With the re-engagement of the U.S. administration, highly welcome. We have a little bit more breathing, I would say, space, but we are far from being out of the wood. We ideally would like to go back to the situation which prevailed before the decision of the former administration to defund UNRWA.
We talk about this a lot, but the civilians in Israel and in Gaza take the brunt of these type of wars. We visited civilian areas today across the Gaza Strip, hit in this latest round of conflict, and spoke to a father who lost 4 children and his wife. He still said he wasn't hateful towards Israel or Jewish people, but that he was frustrated this had to happen to the Palestinian people. Take a listen.
I took a first aid training course. The supervisor asked me, if you were driving an ambulance and you are called to rescue people from the border, you arrived and found that one is a Jew and the other is a Palestinian, who you will help first? I said, I will help both. He said, the Jew as well? I said both. They are both human beings.
There are questions today about whether or not this ceasefire will hold. We saw the Israeli Air Force holding mock air raids over the Gaza Strip today, and they have closed the northern border between Gaza and Israel. So there is a tense calm during the second day of this lull in fighting. Mike?
Trey Yingst doing a phenomenal job in Gaza City. Trey, thanks very much. A viral TikTok video brings thousands of people together to party in California. How it all happened when we come back.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Ooh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on? Sure. It's wireless.
Pick something we all like.
Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot. Don't worry. I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you. All of you.
Think of what peanuts have given humanity. Fuel for vast migrations, sustenance for mountaineering expeditions and long journeys across the world. But most importantly, They give us something to eat when we drink beer. Planters, a nut above.
At K-12, we're ready to get back to learning with curriculum designed to be online, state-certified teachers, and over 20 years of experience with distance learning. Are you ready? Enroll today. K-12, education for anyone.
Cabinet? Handled. Air? Conditioned. Lawn? Mowed. Get $20 off your first home project at Angie.com today. Make your home an Angie home. Angie. And done.
I brought in Ensure Max Protein with 30 grams of protein. Those who tried me felt more energy in just 2 weeks. Here, I'll take that.
Ensure Max Protein with 30 grams of protein, 1 gram of sugar, and nutrients to support immune health.
You need an Ecolab Scientific Clean here. And you need it here. And here. And here. Which is why the scientific expertise that helps operating rooms stay clean is now helping the places you go every day too. Seek a commitment to clean. Look for the Ecolab Science Certified seal.
It's well established, and we all know that what we eat affects every aspect of our health, including our immune system, our circulatory system. It doesn't matter what. We are awesome chemical laboratories. That's why I scientifically formulated Balance of Nature. There's hundreds of thousands of chemicals in every fruit and vegetable that are naturally there. And many of those chemicals attribute to the plant's immune system. And what's awesome about it is we get that chemistry in our own immune system. That nutrition that we need is damaged by heat, air, and light. So our processes are done under vacuum, in dark, and cold. And by doing that, we preserve that nutrition of that fresh, whole fruit and vegetable nutrition when you take Balance of Nature. It's all there, just as Mother Nature intended.
Start your journey with the best fruit and vegetable product on the market by going to balanceofnature.com and use discount code FOXNEWS.
Like many people with moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, I was there.
Be right back.
But my symptoms were keeping me from where I needed to be. So I talked to my doctor and learned Humira is for people who have UC or Crohn's disease. And Humira helps people achieve remission that can last, so you can experience few or no symptoms.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections. Serious and sometimes fatal infections, including tuberculosis and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Be there for you and them. Ask your gastroenterologist about Humira. With Humira, remission is possible.
At least 1,000 people swarming Huntington Beach, California last night after seeing a viral TikTok video. The power of social media. TikTok user Adrian posted a video on the social media app inviting people to his birthday party kickback. The video got more than 3 million views. After the huge group became a bit unruly, police arrested 149 partygoers. Joining us now for a reaction to some of our top stories, we'll bring in our panel, former Wisconsin GOP Congressman and Fox News contributor Sean Duffy, and talk radio show host Arnie Arnesen. Panelists, welcome.
Hey, Mike.
Thank you.
Crime has really spiked in some prominent American cities. We can put the numbers on the screen. Portland, Los Angeles County, Minneapolis, Atlanta, and Philadelphia, some key examples. Arnie, what needs to be done to get a handle on it?
Well, let's also realize that we're coming out of a pandemic, and what we've seen during the course of this pandemic is a huge surge in things like depression. We've seen a huge surge in poverty, and as a result of that, we really need to figure out how to respond effectively. And I think when you hear a lot about issues like defund the police, I think what people are really talking about is reimagining public safety services. And I think that's one of the things we have to start looking at. How do we send in social workers? How do we send in mental health counselors? How do we send in cops? And if we figure out how to do that, on a sort of a thematic basis, I think you're able to sort of treat the community as a whole and not just assume some sort of violent response or cop response. It needs to be, I think, much broader than that. And I think especially after the pandemic, mental health is going to be key to how we solve a lot of these problems.
Sean, your thoughts?
Yeah, Mike, so when we have a pandemic and Democrat governors lock their states down and keep people, locked up in their houses, wearing masks, not being able to go to work, there was depression in those Democrat states. But in Republican states, they were actually open and going back to work and thriving. But I think the real issue here is it's not reimagining law enforcement. It's actually defunding law enforcement. And the problem with the spikes in crime, they're not happening to politicians. They're not happening to the rich and the elite. When you defund police, it's the most marginalized communities where there's violent crimes that are hurt the worst, because AOC, Joe Biden, these guys all have law enforcement around them. They have guns. And if they have money, they actually hire private security to protect them. And it's those of us who don't have money, who live in communities where there is crime, that get hurt the worst by reimagining the police, which means defund the police.
Arnie, we're looking at the one-year anniversary on Tuesday of George Floyd's death in Minneapolis. Are you worried there might be trouble there and perhaps elsewhere?
There's always an excuse to instigate violence. Let's understand that. The question is that going to resolve the problem? The problem right now is we have to look at the gestalt. I have a great story for you. I met a majority leader way back about 10 or 20 years ago, and he said, you know how we plan prison beds in our state? He said, we go into the second grade class and count the number of children at risk. They are 7. No cop is going to help them at that point. What is going to help them is education. What is going to help them is social services. What is going to help them is mental health. If we know at age 7 they'll end up in prison, it's not a cop problem, it's a community problem. And you're absolutely right. Wealthy communities always have it right. That's because they've invested in their education. They're invested in their infrastructure. What we know about poor communities, they can't even drink their water because their water isn't safe. They don't go to good schools. They don't have after-school programs, and they don't have an opportunity to have a job. So as a result, you sent me a story about a 17-year-old that just shot some people up. Well, my question is, what the hell was he doing with a gun? What kind of mental health status did he have? And then the question becomes, how are we resolving this? If you think a cop is going to do it, the cop comes too late.
Sean, we're up against the clock. Let me give you a chance for a final word.
Yeah. So, Arnie, the bottom line is let's open up schools so kids actually get an education. And in those failing schools, let's give kids choice to pick a school that's actually going to work for them. And I agree, the education is the pathway to the middle class and success in America. And the bottom line is, if we want to stop violence in the streets, let's start to arrest people. Let's put them in jail. Let's hold them on bond. And let's actually prosecute the bad actors and put them in jail.
Never worked.
You do that, no more you're going to have the violence on the streets. When you let the violence run rampant, you get more of it. That's what we've seen in the last year and a half in America.
All right, we'll let you guys.
Never worked.
We'll let you guys slug it out during the commercial break. Thanks so much for your time. Have a wonderful day. Mike. Celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month and the Asian-owned small businesses that adapted and overcame in the face of strict COVID restrictions, our small business panel is up next.
To run a growing business is to be on a journey. And along the ride, you'll find many challenges. Your Dell Technologies advisor is here to help, so you can stop at nothing for your customers.
As your business changes, the United States Postal Service is changing with it. With e-commerce that runs at the speed of now, next day and 2-day shipping nationwide, and returns right from the doorstep. It's a whole new world out there. Let's not keep it waiting.
Tired of clean clothes that just don't smell clean? What if your clothes could stay fresh for weeks? Now they can. This towel has already been used, and it still smells fresh. Pour a cap of Downy Unstoppables into your washing machine before each load, and enjoy fresher-smelling laundry for up to 12 weeks.
If you want to be a winner, then get a turkey footlong from Subway. That's oven-roasted turkey, piled high with crisp veggies on freshly baked bread. So let's get out there and get those footlongs.
Now at Subway, buy 1 footlong in the app and get 150% off. Subway, eat fresh.
Want eyes that wow? Try Lumify eye drops. Made with a unique formulation that dramatically reduces redness to help your eyes look whiter and brighter. No wonder it's the #1 eye doctor recommended brand. So whatever color you've got, try Lumify.
You won't believe your eyes. Here's my new dress. What's that? Oh, Damp Rid.
Damp Rid? Damp Rid. It gets rid of musty odors.
How? Damp Rid attracts and traps excess moisture,
eliminating the source of musty odors.
Mustiness, gone.
Damp Rid.
The Middle East conflict, inside the violence between Hamas and Israel, where they stand now, and what's next. Chris has real insight on Fox News Sunday.
Bad mood related to a sluggish gut. Miralax is different. It works naturally with the water in your body to unblock your gut. Free your gut and your mood will follow. Cranky-pated, a bad mood related to a sluggish gut. Miralax is different. It works naturally with the water in your body to unblock your gut. Free your gut and your mood will follow. Free your gut and your mood will follow.
A new money goal?
We've got money goals.
Buy a place closer to my family down south.
Invest in Black-owned companies.
Invest in green companies.
Invest for my daughter's future and my retirement at the same time.
Have a better credit card
than her.
Whatever your money goals, NerdWallet knows the smartest ways to make them happen. Compare and find the smartest credit cards, mortgages, and investing accounts on NerdWallet. For all your money questions, turn to the nerds.
Selling your house is hard. From prep to open houses to hoping for offers. But what if you could sell your house in just a few days with no hassle? Now you can with Simple Sale from HomeLight. Just answer a few quick questions about your house. We'll collect offers from our network of cash buyers and introduce you to the highest bidder. Now, selling is simple. To see your Simple Sale price, go to homelight.com/simple today.
Guys, it's time to step up your game. Force Factor's Alpha King boosts total testosterone for more lean muscle, more energy, and more passion and drive so you can rule the bedroom. Rush to Walmart for Alpha King from the #1 fastest growing men's health brand in America. Guys, are you packing on the pounds? Lean Fire from Force Factor helps you burn fat fast. Increase energy, boost endurance, and lose weight. It's easy. Get ripped and feel great with Lean Fire. Rush to Walmart and find Lean Fire in the Performance Nutrition aisle.
Small business owners looking forward to the summer season and loosening COVID restrictions after having to shift their focus over the course of the pandemic. Let's bring in a couple of small business owners. President of Golden Catalyst, an event planning business, Jani Lau, and co-founder of Cape Resorts, Curtis Bashow. Curtis, full confession here. I'm from the great state of New Jersey. I went up to Cape May last summer for a few days with the family to try to get a little sense of normal. How are things looking in Cape May this summer?
Demand is high. The guests want to be here. The town looks fantastic. You know, we're struggling to find the entirety of the team members we need, but we're getting there day by day.
Can you tell me about the incentives that you're offering, Curtis, to attract job applicants to work for you this summer?
Sure. Yes, we decided to go to areas where there's not so many jobs available and recruit young people that are graduating high school or college and looking for a summer job. And to do that, we bought another hotel and turned it into a staff housing facility for 100 people. And that enables us to recruit them to enjoy a summer at the shore, learn the service business, and really help us meet our full complement of team members. The other things we're doing are beyond just giving them a job and a clock to punch. We're running a gap year program. So we have nighttime and daytime classes with leadership of our entire Cape Resorts team, myself, our marketing people, IT, accounting. And so these young people can engage themselves in learning more in depth about the business that we're operating while they're here working.
All right, Jani, how did your event planning business transform during the pandemic?
You know, Mike, it's always very challenging because we specialize in live events. However, with the with restriction and all, we were able to kind of pivot and went virtual with it. And thank goodness it's opening up and we're making some progress here. And we're kind of doing some hybrid until everybody feels comfortable hosting live events again.
Is there a new normal for big events, Jani, or do you expect to return to pre-COVID type fun before long?
Very good question, Mike. I think safety is always very, very important. So we will definitely put those measurements there. But guess what? At the end of the day, life is about celebration, right? So we hope that we can continue as normal as we can. And I look forward to celebrating life again.
Curtis, do you have expectations in terms of the crowds coming back this summer? Do you think it'll be a normal summer in beautiful Cape May, or are you expecting something a little different?
We're expecting to continue to utilize the outdoor spaces. We did it last season, and we want to make them permanent. The customers are super excited to be back. Some came last summer, but this summer we're welcoming so many faces that we haven't seen in 2 years, and it's really a joyous celebration to see everybody again.
Jenny, I'm curious about survival during the pandemic when we're not doing a lot of big events. You really, I guess, had to think on your feet in terms of transforming your business, right?
Absolutely, Mike, we did. And you know what? With the support of our National Asian Chamber of Commerce out in Washington, D.C., and our community, we managed to kind of, do Zooms and virtual celebrations. And we do that. And just like any life events as well as virtual, we got to be creative. People get zoomed out, right? So we got to come up with new things, fun things. And sharing and supporting one another is a great celebration.
Curtis, thoughts about loyal staffers that have been with you through thick and thin, and thoughts about loyal customers that have been there for you as well?
We are so grateful for the team. We're 400 strong year round, and we hire an additional 400 seasonally, and we could not do what we do without their loyalty and dedication. And you said it right, Mike, that the customers are the same. I mean, they come back and they've entrusted us with their vacation, their first vacation since this whole thing started, and we really are excited to welcome them back and exceed their expectations.
Jenny Lau, Curtis Bashaw, congratulations on surviving the pandemic, and hope you have a great summer.
Thank you so much, Mike. Take care.
That is all for this hour of Fox News Live. Fox News Sunday with Chris Wallace is up next. I'm Mike Emanuel. It has been a pleasure. Have a wonderful Sunday and a great week. Thanks so very much for watching. All the best.
Doug.
So then I said to him, you ought to customize your car insurance with Liberty Mutual, so you only pay for what you need.
Doug, can we talk about something other than work? It's the weekend.
Yeah. Hot dog or chicken?
Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Certified turbocharger, suspension, and fuel injection.
Translation, certified goosebumps.
Certified from headlamp to tailpipe.
That's certified head turns.
And it's all backed by our unlimited mileage warranty.
That means unlimited peace of mind. Mercedes-Benz certified pre-owned. Translation, the Mercedes of your dreams is closer than you think.
Hey, Mom, I'll never say this, but...
Thanks for telling me everyone 12 and older is eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine.
Thank you for loving me that much.
Thanks.
When you have diabetes, managing your blood sugar is crucial.
Try Boost Glucose Control. The patented blend is clinically shown to help manage blood sugar levels. Boost Glucose Control products contain high-quality protein and key nutrients to support immune health. Try Boost.
Hey, allergy muddlers. Are your sneezes putting your friends in awkward positions? Stick with Zyrtec. Zyrtec starts working hard at hour 1 and works twice as hard when you take it again the next day. Zyrtec, muddle no more.
And try Zyrtec D for proven relief of your allergies, sinus fever by using discount code FOXNEWS.
I'm really nervous. I don't know what I should wear.
Just wear something not too crazy. Remember, it's a business dinner, not a costume party.
On the Spotty Network, this is what she heard.
Just wear something crazy. Remember, it's a costume party.
Costume party.
Yes.
Don't trust first impressions to just any network. Go with T-Mobile, the crown jewel of 5G.
Anybody want to split a turkey leg?
I'm Chris Wallace. A ceasefire in the Middle East. But how long will it hold?
I believe we have a genuine opportunity
to make progress, and I'm committed to working for it.
President Biden walking a tightrope in his first foreign policy crisis, praising the truce to end 11 days of conflict.
The Palestinians and Israelis equally deserve to live safely and securely.
But where does the situation in the Middle East stand now? And what about the growing split among Democrats over Israel? We'll sit down with Mark Regev, senior advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, only on Fox News Sunday. Then the House approves an independent commission to investigate the January 6th attack on the Capitol. But opposition from Senate Republicans grows.
I've made the decision to oppose the House Democrats' slanted and unbalanced proposal.
And Democrats slam Republicans for continuing to stand with the former president.
They are caving to Donald Trump and proving that the Republican Party is still drunk off the big lie.
We'll talk with Senator Roy Blunt, a member of the GOP leadership, who says Democrats are playing politics with the commission, and get reaction from Congressman Adam Kinzinger, one of 35 Republicans who voted for the investigation. Plus, we'll ask our Sunday panel about the divides on Capitol Hill inside both parties. And our Power Player of the Week, the owner of Ben's Chili Bowl, a landmark in the nation's capital for 6 decades, and how they survived the pandemic. All right now on Fox News Sunday. And hello again from Fox News in Washington. That fragile ceasefire is still holding in the Middle East after 11 days of fighting between the Israelis and Palestinians left almost 300 dead. President Biden is walking a fine line, promising to rearm Israel while working to provide humanitarian aid to Gaza. And he's also dealing with a sharp split among Democrats about support for Israel. In a moment, we'll speak with Mark Regev, senior advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. But first, let's turn to Mark Meredith at the White House with the latest on the conflict and the politics here at home. Mark.
Chris, President Biden has spent a lot of time on the phone lately, urging Palestinian and Israeli officials to stop fighting. And as you mentioned, while the ceasefire is holding today, the president is facing a long list of questions about how he hopes to achieve lasting peace in the Middle East.
I'm praying this ceasefire will hold. I take Bibi Netanyahu when he gives me his word. I take him at his word.
The U.S. says it firmly supports Israel's right to defend itself from terrorist groups like Hamas. But some progressives say it's the Israelis who need to be reined in.
We should be bringing people together, not just being one-sided and say everything that Israel does is good, because it is not.
In the wake of civilian deaths in Gaza, some Democrats want the White House to cancel a massive arms sale to Israel. Republicans say it's proof Democrats are divided.
I think at least half the Democrats are hostile to Israel. The rest of them are afraid of those who are hostile to Israel.
Violence abroad has many fearful of increased anti-Semitic attacks here at home. Cell phone cameras capturing multiple violent incidents, with Los Angeles police investigating a fight at a restaurant as a possible hate crime. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is set to visit the Middle East in coming days. He's expected to meet with Israeli, Palestinian, and regional leaders, all of whom may be crucial to keeping this ceasefire in place. Chris?
Mark Meredith reporting from the White House. Mark, thank you. And joining us now from Jerusalem, Mark Regev, senior advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. Ambassador, how confident are you that this ceasefire will last? Back in 2014, the last major outbreak of violence, it took 9 truces over 56 days before Israel and Hamas finally stopped fighting. What are the chances we're going to see that again?
Well, as you've just said, after that round of fighting in 2014, we did receive over half a decade of relative peace and quiet. And so that is possible, and I hope we can do that again. Ultimately, in the operation, we gave Hamas a heavy blow. We dismantled a large part of their terrorist military machine. We took out part of their leadership. We hit their command and control. Hopefully, they will think twice, even 3 times, before they strike at Israel again.
There is No question that Hamas started the military conflict, firing 4,300 rockets into Israel and killing at least a dozen Israelis. But I think you would agree that the toll was much heavier on the Hamas side in Gaza. And I want to put up some numbers on that. At least 248 Palestinians killed, including 66 children and 39 women. 800,000 people in Gaza do not currently have access to piped water. Ambassador, any second thoughts about whether the Israeli response during these 11 days was proportionate?
They were firing thousands of rockets, as you just said, on our civilian population. They were trying to murder our people in their homes. We were defending ourselves. Our operation was fundamentally designed simply to protect our civilian population. Now, in the process of fighting back, we were trying to be as surgical as is humanly possible in a very complex combat situation. They were firing out of schools, they were firing out of built-up areas, they were firing out of homes, out of mosques, even out of playgrounds. And we tried to be, as I said, to hit the terrorists and not to see innocent people caught up in the crossfire. And while our goal was to avoid civilian casualties, Hamas had actually the exact opposite goal. They were aiming their rockets at our people, trying to kill them. And of course, they were brutally abusing Gaza's civilians as a human shield for their war machine. We know for a fact that many of the casualties in this operation were caused by Hamas munitions. Almost 20% of their rockets fell short, landing in Gaza, killing Gaza's civilians. It didn't bother them at all. They kept doing that. Part of the death and destruction was because of their ordnance, their explosives going off. We made a maximum effort to minimize human casualties. They did exactly the opposite.
One difference is that this time Israel came under some heavy fire from the left wing of the Democratic Party. And I want to play some of the clips of that kind of rhetoric this past week. Take a look, sir.
Palestinians aren't going anywhere, no matter how much money you send to Israel's apartheid government.
Every rocket and bomb that targets civilians is a war crime.
Benjamin Netanyahu has cultivated an increasingly intolerant and authoritarian type of racist nationalism.
Ambassador, do you worry that Israel is losing support among some major political elements here in the United States? And to what degree that you're losing that support does that bolster Hamas and hurt Israel?
Well, I can tell you this morning, before coming to this interview, I looked at the polling, and I saw that the overwhelming majority of the American people stand with Israel, support Israel, are favorable towards Israel. A majority of people who identify as Democrats also support Israel, favor Israel. And even I saw people who self-identify as liberal Democrats are favorable towards Israel. Of course, they want to see peace, but Israel wants to see peace too. We'd love to have peace with our Palestinian neighbors, and people need to understand Hamas is not just Israel's enemy. Hamas is the enemy of everyone who wants to see peace and reconciliation in our part of the world. They're a brutal, jihadist, terrorist group. No one should make excuses for them.
So how do you understand, how do you regard the criticism you're getting from Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and in addition from much more mainstream Democrats, for instance, the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Robert Menendez?
So Senator Menendez is a champion of the Israel-U.S. partnership, a champion of the alliance between our two democracies, a real friend of Israel. I think we weren't quick enough. He was particularly concerned about an attack on a particular structure, and we weren't quick enough in getting the facts of that matter out, because it was played that somehow Israel attacked innocent civilians. It wasn't the case. In that building that the senator was concerned about, Hamas had its elite scientific research unit that was working on ways to try to counteract the guiding systems on our rockets. If they would have succeeded, not only couldn't we have shot down incoming rockets coming into Israel to kill our people, but we wouldn't have been able to be surgical in our strikes against Hamas's military machine. So that definitely was a legitimate military target. That Hamas was using journalists as a human shield shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone, but we notified the journalists in advance. And I'm happy to tell you that there was not a single civilian casualty from that operation. In fact, from my point of view, it was an Israeli tactical success because we took out a legitimate Hamas target, a dangerous Hamas target, and at the same time, not a single innocent civilian was killed. That's a good thing.
One concern, you talked about Israel wants peace. One concern is whether Israel is doing enough to address the root causes of the conflict. Here is a comment on Friday from President Biden.
We still need a two-state solution. It is the only answer.
Does Prime Minister Netanyahu still believe that a two-state solution is the only answer? And if so, what is he doing to achieve that?
I know my Prime Minister believes in peace very, very strongly. In the last year, we've made breakthrough peace agreements with 4 Arab countries, and we want to see more. He wants to expand the circle of peace to include the Palestinians as well. But let me be clear here, Hamas is not interested in peace. Hamas says that every Israeli man, woman and child is a legitimate target in their terror war. Hamas says Israel, my country, should be destroyed, wiped off the map. Hamas says any Arab or Palestinian leader who makes peace with Israel should be murdered. I think in overcoming Hamas, in defeating Hamas now, maybe we've created some room for more Palestinian moderate voices to move center stage. Because as long as Hamas is powerful, they can almost put a veto.
Yes, but there are a number of independent groups that say it's not all on Hamas. The human rights group, Human Rights Watch, came out with a report last month that made a serious charge against Israel for the first time. I want to put it up on the screen. They said the oppression of Palestinians there in Israel has reached a threshold and a permanence that meets the definitions of the crimes of apartheid and persecution. Ambassador, it says that Israel has set up a system that oppresses Palestinians, especially in Gaza and the West Bank.
I'd like to say when that report was issued, we read it carefully and we rejected it. It's simply not true. Israel is a democracy, is a country with a free press, a free parliament, a country where we hold our freedoms very, very seriously. We are in conflict with neighbors, especially in Gaza, run by brutal terrorist organizations. There's no parity here. You have a democratic country trying to protect its people and a brutal terrorist organization trying to kill civilians. We have to act to protect our people.
Finally, and I have about a minute left, Ambassador, there was an anti-Netanyahu coalition that was reportedly within days, perhaps within hours, of forming a government and ousting Prime Minister Netanyahu. Now that we've had these 11 days of conflict, is that dead? And is Israel headed for a 5th election in 2 years?
You know, Chris, this might be the land of the Bible, but I'm no prophet and I can't foretell the future. I don't know what will happen here politically. I do know this. Israelis across the political spectrum were united in the need to defend our people against these Hamas rockets coming in and the need to take action and to stop it. And I think also Israelis were united wall to wall in our appreciation for the president, for President Biden, when he again and again reaffirmed Israel's right to defend ourselves against these incoming rockets. It was much appreciated.
Ambassador Regev, thank you. Thanks for your time. We'll be following developments in the region over the next days and weeks. Up next, we'll ask our Sunday panel about the new controversy over U.S. support for our oldest ally in the Middle East.
This is Andy, my Schwab financial consultant. Here's Andy, listening to my goals and making plans. This is us talking tax smart investing, managing risk, and all the ways Schwab can help me invest. This is Andy reminding me how I can keep my investing costs low and that there's no fee to work with them. Here's me learning about Schwab's satisfaction guarantee. Accountability. I like it. So yeah, Andy and I made a good plan. Find your own Andy at Schwab. A modern approach to wealth management.
Star, we see them.
Okay, mother and child
child in vehicle. Mother is unable to exit the vehicle. Injuries are unknown.
Thank you, OnStar.
My son, is he okay?
Your son's fine.
Thank you. There's something in the road.
It's okay. You're safe now.
Ooh, this looks good.
You know, it's about your passion. It's about what you feel. What makes me smile. What makes me feel like me is having a pair of fly and affordable frames. With the right pair of frames, you can celebrate your style and your outlook.
Sounds like a hit to me.
When you buy this tea at Walmart, Walmart can buy more tea from Milo's. Milo's can create new jobs. Jobs for people like James and Lacey and me. Me, I love my work family. Family here and home is my life. Life is better for us because of a job. A job created when you buy this tea at Walmart.
I got love. I got love.
I don't hydrate like everyone else because I'm not everyone else. They drink what they're told to drink. I drink what helps me rehydrate and recover. Pedialyte Sport because it works. And so do I. Hydration beyond the hype.
When it comes to real estate agents, experience matters. The best agents know how to market your home for top dollar and navigate through a complex transaction. At Ideal Agent, we created our Smart Seller system with top-rated local agents to sell your home for as low as a 2% commission.
I was amazed in the fact that my house sold in one day. Ideal Agent saved me in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $25,000 in commissions. The process was as easy as it gets. It was turnkey. I'm a very busy guy, and they just took care of everything. They are the #1 way to sell your house.
I've used Ideal Agent 2 times. Ideal Agent guided me through the entire process, every step. You want to have the best agents, but you want to get the best deal. Using Ideal Agent with both properties, I've saved over $30,000.
Our service is free, available nationwide, and there's zero obligation. Call us today or visit idealagent.com.
I think that, my party still supports Israel.
Do Palestinians have a right to survive? Do we believe that?
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez contradicting President Biden's claim there's no split inside the Democratic Party over Israel. And it's time now for our Sunday group. Guy Benson of Fox News Radio, Julie Pace, Washington bureau chief for the Associated Press, and Charles Lane from the Washington Post. Julie, how much do you think the growing criticism from some Democrats, and as I mentioned in the last interview, especially from the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Robert Menendez, how much do you think that criticism rattled the Biden White House and pushed them to go harder and sooner for a ceasefire from Israel?
I think the White House was certainly aware that the Democratic Party is split over this issue, that there is a much more vocal element of the Democratic Party that is supporting the Palestinian cause, that is not as reflexively pro-Israel as we have seen in the past. I do think Biden, though, was trying to walk this very careful line. You saw this over and over again in statements that he was making and readouts of the conversations that he was having with Prime Minister Netanyahu, with the conversations that Tony Blinken, Lloyd Austin, others were having. The thing they put forward there at the forefront was, we support Israel's right to defend itself. They felt like it was critical to have that statement out there. But you did see then over the course of this conflict a move privately at first and then publicly to urge Israel to stop. And I don't think that was driven fully by politics, but certainly the politics was something the White House was well aware of here.
Guy, I think it's fair to say that President Biden stood pretty firmly behind Israel throughout this conflict, but whether it was the Squad, whether it was Senator Menendez, whether it was Senator Bernie Sanders, you had talk of apartheid, of racism, and war crimes. What do you make of that?
Yeah, Chris, I listened to your interview in the last segment very carefully, and I hope that the ambassador is right about America remaining steadfastly pro-Israel across the board. And he said he looked at some polling. There's a new poll out in the last few days from YouGov that shows that when they ask Democrats which side of this conflict they sympathize more with, more Democrats say Palestinians than Israelis. I think that that is an extraordinary sea change that we're seeing in the Democratic Party. And I think some of the old guard remains pro-Israel, but the younger, very vocal, sort of up-and-coming element of the progressive left, they have cast in their lot with the Palestinians, and I think in some cases amplify what amount to Hamas talking points. I think it's frightening to see. I think Republicans are much more united on this front. Independents remain heavily pro-Israel, but there is a real fight here in the Democratic Party over this issue.
Chuck, let me pick up on that. Do you think the real story, the big story here, is that the continuing support for Israel among most American politicians, Republicans and Democrats, or this growing criticism of Israel from the left wing of the Democratic Party?
I would put it this way. When commentators in the Palestinian community claimed victory in this contest that is perhaps just concluded, the main point they cited was the growth of support for the Palestinian cause in global opinion, particularly the United States. I don't think they're wrong to see it that way. I mean, they paid a heavy price militarily, but in public opinion around the world on the progressive left, the Palestinian cause is now seen, ironically, almost as sympathetically as the Jewish and Israeli cause was seen 60 years ago. I think it's been a long time coming. There are a lot of reasons for that. Certainly in the United States, one reason is that Prime Minister Netanyahu made a very overt pro-Donald Trump, pro-Republican kind of lunge over the last 4 years. And that alienated a lot of Democrats. He became more partisan. And I think now we're going to see in our country, Israel and the Middle East becoming a much more partisan issue with Democrats on one side of it, relatively speaking, and Republicans on the other.
Let's turn to the facts on the ground. Here was Prime Minister Netanyahu this week. Take a look.
You can either conquer them, and that's always an open possibility, or you can deter them. And we are engaged right now in forceful deterrence, but I have to say we don't rule out anything.
Julie, under President Trump, I think it's fair to say that the push for the two-state solution, the traditional diplomatic position of the United States, was put on the shelf, and you saw a much greater effort to achieve these Abraham Accords between Israel and other Arab countries like Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. But didn't these last 11 days show that you just can't ignore the central conflict between Israel and the Palestinians?
Or that if you do ignore it, that it's not going to get any better on its own, and it will continue to flare up and continue to push its way to the forefront here. And I think what's interesting is that when Joe Biden came into office, he didn't put the Middle East, he certainly didn't put the Israeli-Palestinian issue at the forefront of his foreign policy. He wanted to focus on rebuilding global alliances. He wanted to focus on Asia more, trying to counter China. And I think what these last 11 days have shown is that a U.S. administration, whether it wants to or not, has to deal with this situation. I think what we're going to be watching for in the coming weeks and months is what the Biden position is going to be here. How actively involved is his administration going to get in trying to potentially restart peace talks here? The region has changed. You do have these peace accords now between Israel and some Arab countries. That is an important dynamic that has shifted here. But the Biden administration has a choice now to make about what their own approach is going to be and how active and central this will be to the president's foreign policy.
And of course, adding to all the difficulties, you've got this huge split inside Israel, the Netanyahu forces and the anti-Netanyahu forces, as we may be headed to the 5th election in 2 years, and a huge and growing split among the Palestinians between the more establishment Fatah wing and Hamas. So maybe we're further away from a peace deal than ever. Panel, we have to take a break here. We'll see you later in the hour. Up next, a bipartisan commission to investigate the events of the January 6th attack on Capitol Hill faces an uphill battle in the Senate. We'll talk to two key Republicans on opposing sides of the issue when we come right back.
As your business changes, the United States Postal Service is changing with it. With e-commerce that runs at the speed of now, next day and 2-day shipping nationwide, and returns right from the doorstep. It's a whole new world out there. Let's not keep it waiting.
Okay, at AT&T, everyone gets our best deals on all smartphones. Let me break it down. You got your new customers. They get our best deals. You got your existing customers. They also get our best deals. Everyone gets the deals. Questions?
Got it. But why did you use a permanent marker?
Because I want to make sure you remember. I'm going to get a new whiteboard.
It's not complicated. Only AT&T gives new and existing customers the same great deals on all smartphones. Get up to $700 off our latest 5G smartphones.
My name is Johnny. I am 61 years old, a handyman. You know, Balance of Nature is a very good product. I'd heard about it on the radio. So I tried it and started going, and it took about a month for it to start working. And I felt great. I felt like I did when I was 20. I was like, this is real food. And then I started looking into it more and found out that it really was. It was all the vegetables and all the fruit that your body really needs. The right kind of food going into your body really helps your body all around. I mean, it helps you see better. It helps you think better. I've noticed my dreams are better with Balance of Nature. It's been great. If you're seriously considering doing something healthy, this will supplement what you need.
Start your journey with the best fruit and vegetable product on the market by going to balanceofnature.com or by calling 1-800-2468-751. And don't forget to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer by using discount code Fox News.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned.
For a limited time, you can get a premium MyPillow for the lowest price ever. Regularly $69.98, now only $29.98.
Sleep well, America! For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
How does it feel to have an Angie home? Like savoring a midnight snack in your newly renovated dream kitchen. Get $20 off your first home project at Angie.com today. Make your home an Angie home. Angie, and done.
I was pregnant twice, and I had used prescription opioids both times. I got addicted very fast. I knew that this was something I had to stop for the sake of my children and for myself. I am more fulfilled today than I ever have been, and I know there's more to come. And you know, brokenness brings us to our healing.
If you or someone you know is struggling, there is hope. Recovery is possible.
Majority Leader Chuck Schumer plans to bring a bill to the Senate floor soon, creating a commission to investigate the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. But Republicans appear to have the votes to kill the measure. There's a sharp split inside the GOP about the need for an independent commission. In a moment, we'll speak with a member of the Senate leadership, Roy Blunt, who says the panel will only slow down reforms that are already underway. But first, from Illinois, Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger. Congressman, after the House approved the commission, with the 35 Republicans in the House breaking with the GOP leadership to support the panel, it appeared that there was a possibility Congress was going to approve this commission. But then the Senate Republican leader, Mitch McConnell, spoke out this week. Take a look at what he had to say.
It's not at all clear what new facts or additional investigation yet another commission could actually lay on top of existing efforts by law enforcement and Congress.
Congressman, with several congressional committees in both the House and Senate investigating the events of January 6th, are there questions, and if so, what are they, the biggest questions that you think a commission would be able to answer, but that these committees will not be able to answer?
Yeah, certainly. So let's keep in mind the investigations that are ongoing are things like into specific criminal actions. That's why you've seen 400 people arrested. That's what the FBI can do. There can be discussions about, did House security fail? But what we need is a comprehensive look at what happened that led up to January 6th. Who was talking to who? What were the lies? I mean, here's the truth, Chris. The American people, and it's Sunday, and you learn in Sunday school, truth matters. The American people deserve the truth. And my party to this point has said things like it was hugs and kisses, it was Antifa and BLM, it was anything but what it was, which was a Trump-inspired insurrection on the Capitol, and people deserve to hear the truth. And I think now what's going to happen if this thing fails is that Nancy Pelosi will run a select committee, and this could go all the way to 2024.
Why do you think that Senate Republicans led by Mitch McConnell are apparently going to be able to block this commission? Do you think it's all about politics on their part? And don't they have a point that one of the reasons that Democrats are pushing so hard for this commission is because they want to bring the controversy over what happened on January 6th and over the alleged role that Donald Trump played in it? They want to bring that into the 2022 midterms.
Well, here's a revelation. This is going to the 2022 midterms anyway, particularly if us as Republicans don't take ownership for what happened. If every other day there's a new conspiracy theory about what happened at the Capitol, anybody but what it was. And so, yeah, then I think it'll go to 2022 and we'll look like we're just sitting here denying reality and facts. I get it. It may have a political impact, but I'm going to tell you what had the political impact on 2022, if anything does, is going to be the attack on January 6th and then the subsequent denial to look in the mirror, tell the truth, take ownership for what we've done, and recommit to telling the American people and Republican voters the truth. The Republican voter who has had their patriotism abused by somebody that simply wants to use it to maintain power. Raw, noble patriotism is beautiful, and leaders should be inspiring that patriotism to defend democracy and not attack it.
Let me ask you about one Republican leader in Congress. Do you believe that it's a conflict of interest for House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy to do everything he can to oppose this panel? Do you think it's a conflict of interest given that he would likely be called by a commission to testify about his various conversations with President Trump, both on the day of the riot on January 6th and then subsequent to that?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a conflict of interest because Kevin is the leader. There's probably a lot of people that are going to be subject to being called in front of any investigation on this, even criminal investigation. But I do think Kevin has failed to tell the truth to the Republicans and to the American people. And it pains me to say it. It's not like I enjoy standing up and saying this. But people, the 74 million voters that voted for Donald Trump that believe, a number of them that believe the election was stolen, believe it because their leaders have not told them otherwise. The people they trust have either been silent or not told them the truth. That's where Kevin has failed because he told the truth on January 13th, something around then, and then he went to Mar-a-Lago and said, Donald Trump's the leader of the party. He's right. Donald Trump is the leader of the party. But we need to tell people the truth.
You talk about the politics and all this on the part of the Republicans who are trying to block the commission, but you have set up a political action committee called Country First, and part of the goal, maybe the central goal of Country First, is to try to take the Republican Party back from Donald Trump. So, in effect, doesn't the January 6th commission serve your political purposes?
No, not at all, because I'm going to tell you, history is going to tell the truth anyway, and it'd be nice to confront that through a January 6th commission. My whole thing with Country First, and it's country1st.com, is just simply to say we owe the American people the truth. My very first video on there, I just say, look, the Republican Party has lost its way. This party that built the interstate system, that freed the slaves, that, fought for the environment, is now the party that is engaged heavily in mask battles, anti-vaccination, and whatever the outrage of the day is, including Dr. Seuss. All of that may be important, but there are much more important things for this country, and that's what we want to get back to, is putting the country before the party. And frankly, January 6th embarrasses me. That will in no way benefit me at all.
Congressman Kinzinger, thank you. Thanks for sharing this weekend with us. And now let's turn to Senator Roy Blunt of Missouri. Senator, you're a member of the Republican leadership in the Senate. How confident are you that you're going to be able to block the creation of this commission in the Senate?
Well, I think it's too early to create a commission, and I believe Republicans in the Senate will decide that it's too early to create that commission. You know, commissions often don't work at all, and when they do work, like the Simpson-Bowles Commission produced a good result, nothing happened as part of that result. The one commission that we generally think did work was the 9/11 Commission, Chris. I think I was part of putting that commission together. I think it was 14 months after 9/11, after all kinds of other information was out there for that commission to look at, before that commission got started. And believe me, it would be months before this commission could get started. I just was part of the Senate Intel Committee looking into the last election, the Russian involvement in the last election. We thought that would take a year. It took 3 years, and we already had a full staff that was fully cleared to look at everything. It would take months, as Chairman Burr said the other day, former Chairman Burr of our committee. It would take months just to get a staff ready to look at things, and you've got 400 plus legal efforts going on against individuals. That's going to produce a lot of information eventually, but believe me, the Justice Department will not let a commission have any of that information. We just went through that with the effort we looked at after the last election. We got no sharing from the Justice Department about a much smaller number of cases than they're dealing with now. This information is all going to get out there. I've actually opposed the idea of a commission immediately from the very first, because I think we'll start waiting for a commission rather than moving forward with what we know we need to do now. There's a bipartisan effort in the Senate with 2 committees to produce not only a report, but also a number of recommendations, and we should be able to do that in the first full week of June, and we haven't even waited for that to decide what a commission should do.
Well, let me ask you about that. You are working with 2 committees, Senate Rules and Senate Homeland Security, both, of course, chaired by Democrats because they're in the majority. Right. And as you say, they're going to come out with a report, we think, as early as next month. But the issue is whether or not they're going to answer, and this is what Congressman Kinzinger said, some of the key questions that a lot of people have about January 6th. I want to put those up on the screen. What was President Trump doing during the riot? Did he refuse to approve sending in the National Guard? Did White House staff and the military work around Mr. Trump with Vice President Pence? Will your report with those 2 committees, will they answer those questions? And have you talked, have you subpoenaed, or have you heard from top officials in the Trump White House?
Well, we had 2 public hearings, and we've had several individual interviews with people like the acting Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of the Army. There's going to be a timeline that will come out that talks about what happened, when it happened. There'll be plenty of answers to the questions, I think, of why we had that 30-minute gap between the time that the Defense Department says they approved National Guard assistance and the time they told the National Guard that they'd approved that assistance. There are some questions there.
I don't mean to interrupt, but what about what was going on inside the Trump White House?
Well, I think you've got to decide what's the priority here. Is the priority to secure the Capitol, to do what we need to do to better train, better prepare Capitol Police, decide what we want to do in the future? Or is the priority to take what will be a couple of years, in my view, to decide what happened inside the White House? I think that ultimately will be out there. All kinds of books being written, all kinds of efforts to look at that. Even a commission like the 9/11 Commission started at the right time with the information they need. Won't get in the way of us doing what we need to do, but if we start a commission right now, just last week, many people in the press were saying about our report that will come out, it will be bipartisan, it will be something that Chairman Klobuchar, Chairman Peters, Rob Portman, and I all will have signed off on. When that comes out, people are saying, well, maybe we should wait until we get a report from the commission. I don't think we should wait for another year or so to decide what we need to do to respond to 9/11.
But you keep talking about the 9/11 Commission. The two chairs of the 9/11 Commission, one Republican, one Democrat, they put out a statement this week, and here's what they said. They support creation of this panel, saying unity of purpose was key to the effectiveness of the group, the 9/11 Commission. We put country above party without bias. I don't think many people or anybody is saying that your committees can't do their work. The question is whether a commission, an independent commission, no members of Congress, could serve a useful function. And as you say, it may be a year from now before they come out. Can you honestly say, in opposing this commission, coming out down the line, that you're putting country above party?
Well, I think, first of all, I think I said a minute ago what happened 9/11. Obviously, I meant what happened January 6th. Those are clearly, in my time in the Congress, the two seminal moments where the country, the capital city itself, under an attack that we wouldn't have anticipated. But I do think that the 9/11 Commission had a lot more information available to it when it started than this one would have. And we made a lot of decisions before the 9/11 Commission started that were important to further secure the Capitol, to further look at our intelligence failures. Right. We need to be doing all of those things. We'll see what my colleagues think, but there's been very little bipartisan discussion between the House and Senate on this topic.
Senator, I've got about 30 seconds here, so I need a quick answer. You're part of a Republican group trying to come up with a deal with the White House over infrastructure. They're at $1.7 trillion. You guys are, on the Republican side, are around $600 billion. Even in Washington, that's a lot of money. What do you think are the prospects for a compromise, a bipartisan compromise on infrastructure? 30 seconds.
Well, I hope we can get there. I think our best meeting on this topic was the meeting we had with the president himself and the members and a couple of cabinet officers, the Secretary of Commerce and the Secretary of Transportation. I think the president would like to get there on a bipartisan deal. Our biggest gap is not the money. Our biggest gap is defining what infrastructure is. And if we'd get to a definition of infrastructure that the country would have always accepted, that becomes a much narrower space than it appears to be right now. I do think we've got about a week or 10 days to decide if we can work together on this or not. I'd like to. I believe the president would like to. The number is too big because the scope of what the White House staff wants to call infrastructure is way too big.
Senator Blunt, thank you. Thanks for coming in today, and we'll stay on top of what happens to the commission in the Senate. Up next, we'll bring back our Sunday group to debate who's playing politics with this plan for an independent investigation.
More protection, more sun, more joy. Neutrogena Beach Defense. The sun care brand used most by dermatologists and their families. Neutrogena, for people with skin.
These used cars may look identical, but with Carfax, you'll see how a car's history affects its value.
I always knew you were an accident.
Stop overpaying.
I'm still Mom's favorite.
Shop at the all-new Carfax.com.
That delicious scramble was microwaved? Get out of here.
Everybody's a skeptic.
Right, brothers. More like, yeah, right, brothers. Get out of here.
It's not crazy. It's a scramble. Just crack an egg.
Make your side hustle your official hustle. Start your business and keep it running with LegalZoom. LegalZoom, let's make it official.
Investigating COVID's origin and outbreak.
Why do you think the media was so incurious?
Nicholas Wade breaks down the facts tonight on Life, Liberty, and Levin.
I'm a very busy guy, and they just took care of everything. They are the #1 way to sell your house.
I've used Ideal Agent 2 times. Ideal Agent guided me through the entire process, every step. You want to have the best agents, but you want to get the best deal. Using Ideal Agent with both properties, I've saved over $30,000.
Our service is free, available nationwide, and there's zero obligation. Call us today or visit idealagent.com.
Nerds.
My new money goal?
My new money goal?
We've got money goals.
Buy a place closer to my family down south.
Invest in Black-owned companies.
Invest in green companies.
Invest for my daughter's future and my retirement at the same time.
Have a better credit card
than her.
Whatever your money goals, NerdWallet knows the smartest ways to make them happen. Compare and find the smartest credit cards, mortgages, and investing accounts on NerdWallet. For all your money questions, turn to the nerds.
Guys, as we get older, we all lose testosterone. With Force Factor's Test X180 works to boost it back, build muscle, increase energy, fuel desire, and improve performance. Rush to Walmart for Test X180, the #1 fastest growing testosterone brand in America. Guys, are you tired of frequent nighttime bathroom trips? Well, Force Factor Prostate helps reduce urges to urinate, plus fully empty your bladder and promote a normal prostate size. Don't settle. Rush to Walmart for Force Factor Prostate from the #1 fastest growing men's health brand in America.
What is clear is that House Democrats have handled this proposal in partisan bad faith, going right back to the beginning.
Once again, they are caving to Donald Trump and proving that the Republican Party is still drunk off the big lie.
Senate Republican and Democratic leaders sharply divided over the idea of a commission to investigate the January 6th riot on Capitol Hill. And we're back now with the panel. So, Guy, which side do you think has the better side of this argument? The Republicans, who it appears are going to be able to block the commission, or Democrats who are pushing for it?
Well, the Republicans may have the votes in the Senate, as Senator Blunt alluded to. In terms of the argument, I heard what Senator McConnell just said there, and one person who would disagree is the Republican ranking member on the Homeland Security Committee in the House, who helped hammer out a bipartisan deal on this commission. And it's absolutely true that one way or another, there's going to be an investigation by Congress into this attack on Congress, which was an extremely disgraceful moment in our history. The question is, will it be bipartisan, with each side having similar powers, not exactly the same, but the exact same number of people that they're responsible for appointing to it? Or will it be a partisan Democratic involved situation, an enterprise that Nancy Pelosi will run? And that's the point that Congressman Kinzinger made. So I really do think that this is an appropriate purview for Congress to look into. It's not ancient history. The hands of Congress are not tied to go do other things while a commission looks into everything that led up to and happened on that horrific day. And I think Republicans are really trying to just sort of move past it and look to 2022. I'm sympathetic to that, but I think 1-6 was bad enough that it requires real answers.
Chuck, even if Republicans take a political hit in killing the commission, as it at least appears now they're going to do, couldn't you argue that it's still smarter politics than creating this panel, which is going to hold public hearings and bring the whole issue? I understand if not, it'll be like a Benghazi commission. It'll be set up just by one party, Nancy Pelosi in the House. But, you know, an independent commission has a real political downside to it as well for Republicans.
The independent commission's political downside to the Republicans is that it has more credibility. And, of course, this is a very bad story for the Republican Party. I think a lot of Republicans are afraid of what it will find out about their desperate but futile effort to get the president to do something about this mob that was coming for them. But more importantly, I think they feel, the Republicans feel, that they have to move, just like they had to squash Liz Cheney to change the subject. They have to squash this to change the subject so they have a clearer field in 2022. I just want to say that, you know, this is one where the Democrats are galvanized and united and have sort of logic and truth in their direction, and the Republicans are divided and fighting against the pretty clear merits of the subject.
Right. Julie, let's talk about this not from a political standpoint, but from a substance standpoint. Are there some questions about President Trump's role before the riot or during the day, January 6th, that a commission might be able to answer, and that these congressional committees, and Senator Blunt made it clear they're not calling top officials from the Trump White House, that congressional committees are never going to be able to answer?
Absolutely. I think the commission would be the perfect venue to try to answer some of the unanswered questions. And most of those questions do focus on President Trump, focus on what he was doing on the 6th, what private conversations he was having with aides. We have snippets of details about conversations that he was having with some members of Congress and others. But I do think that there's a real gap in the history of this seminal moment in our country's history that has gone unanswered. And so this commission would likely be the only real venue for being able to have a fair accounting of what transpired inside the White House and around President Trump on the 6th.
Let's turn to another big issue that I touched on at the end of my interview with Senator Blunt, and that's the question of a big infrastructure bill. President Biden keeps saying he wants a compromise, but at the end of this week, as I mentioned to Senator Blunt, the White House is at $1.7 trillion, and Democrats are about $600 billion. So they're more than $1 trillion apart. Guy, what do you think of the chances they're able to resolve that difference, and also the difference of how they pay for it? Democrats want to raise taxes on corporations, Republicans don't. Or do you think in the end that the president and Democrats will end up going the straight party line reconciliation route in the Senate?
$1 trillion plus apart, and a huge disagreement on taxes, a huge disagreement on scope, which I think was a key word from Senator Blunt in that interview. I think that there is some openness to bipartisanship on this on the Republican side. The White House has come down in their number a little bit. It's still astronomically high. The Republicans want to focus on traditional infrastructure, which I think makes sense. Maybe they'll get a little bit closer. I'm currently, based on what I'm seeing, what I'm reading, what I'm hearing, I'm more inclined to believe this is going to end up being a partisan exercise by the Democrats to sort of ram it through, because the parties are so far apart. The one potential opportunity, though, 4 senators, 2 from each party, put together a bipartisan bill on surface infrastructure, roads and bridges and that sort of thing, for $303 billion. If they go at this on a piecemeal basis, then perhaps there's more room, more wiggle room for bipartisanship. But I think the White House wants something big.
Julie, I got less than a minute. How do you think this infrastructure story ends?
I think unless there's a significant shift in the dynamics this week, we're either going to go down a purely partisan route where a big package gets passed only on Democratic votes, or there is this potential opportunity to explore what Guy just outlined there, where you break up the bill into some smaller pieces. But the White House officials that I've talked to are very concerned that taking that route would actually cause a split within their own party, where a lot of Democrats want to use this opportunity to do something big. And so there's some wariness among White House officials about doing that second step.
Well, we'll be talking about that a little bit longer. Thank you, panel. See you next Sunday. Up next, our Power Player of the Week, a D.C. landmark on surviving the pandemic and its special place in Washington history.
Okay, everyone. Our mission is to provide complete balanced nutrition for strength and energy.
Great tasting Ensure with 9 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, and nutrients to support immune health.
Renting always made sense to me. And then it rained. In the apartment. Sorry, Louis. I also had a landlord who thought he could fix things.
Here we go again.
He could not. Oh, you're going to do it?
Well, slap some paint on this and cover it right up.
But Rocket Mortgage helped me find the home loan option that worked for me, so I could buy a place of my own. Now I don't have a landlord. Or a leaky ceiling.
When you need to throw in the towel on renting, Rocket can.
Rocket. You got any tape?
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure. It's wireless.
Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable. That's a really tight spot. Don't worry. I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you. All of you.
Hi, my name is Rick. I'm from Kenosha, Wisconsin. I'm a husband, family man, and I'm a retired firefighter. Being a firefighter, you use your body in every contorted way possible to get the job done. My back was in such bad shape, they were worried I could be paralyzed from the neck down. Surgery was the only possibility for me. So that's when I discovered Balance of Nature. After surgery, taking Balance of Nature brought me back quicker than my doctor or my therapists ever thought possible. Every time I go to the doctor's office, they're like, Rick, what are you doing? And I even brought brochures to my doctor to say, here is what I'm taking. Fruit. And he said, this looks like a fantastic product. Balance of Nature really supplied my body with the right nutrients to help heal itself.
Start today by going to balanceofnature.com and use discount code Fox News.
Weekends on Fox News Channel are now even bigger, with 2 new shows covering America's top stories and straight talk you won't get anywhere else. Don't miss the Big Saturday and Big Sunday shows. Weekends at 5 on Fox News Channel. America is watching.
As the country begins to get back to normal, a lot of us are looking forward to enjoying a meal at our favorite restaurant. In D.C., that includes a local landmark that has played a big role in the nation's capital for 63 years. Here is our Power Player of the Week.
Well, we've faced many, many challenges. The pandemic has been truly the most challenging. Welcome to Ben's. How are you?
Virginia Ali is the owner of Ben's Chili Bowl, a Washington institution that, like so much, was threatened by the pandemic. How hard did it hit your business?
Oh, wow. I mean, we were open, Chris, from 7 in the morning until 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. on weekends. That came to a complete halt.
Somehow, Ben's made it work, doubling down on carryout and even starring in a Google commercial.
People come here to see the photos on the wall, to meet the family.
To understand the fuss about Ben's, you need to know its history. Ben and Virginia Ali were newlyweds when they opened the place in 1958. Folks came for the half smoke, a sizzling pork and beef sausage served with Ben's signature chili on top.
He had this very special spicy chili recipe. You know, he came from Trinidad where spicy foods was the thing.
They were on U Street, known in the 50s as the Black Broadway.
All the clubs closed at 2 a.m., so from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m., you could barely get into the Chili Bowl on a Friday and Saturday night. There was Duke Ellington, there was Pearl Bailey, Nat King Cole, everybody.
That must have been some scene. What was that like?
It was just a joyful time. I mean, the music is going on the jukebox, and we have these musicians coming in. We're just happy to see them.
In the 60s, the civil rights movement took over, but Ben's was still a meeting place.
Whenever Dr. King was in town, on occasion he would come down to the Chili Bowl, have a sandwich. I'd have an opportunity to sit with him and listen to him talk about his dream.
But in 1968, King was assassinated. Much of U Street was burned down or boarded up.
Ben's Chili Bowl was the only place that was allowed to remain open. That was scary, but we were not touched.
In the decades since, Ben's has remained a landmark, an essential stop for African-American entertainers and politicians. Which brings us back to the food.
It's so good, guys.
Can you tell me what the secret is to the secret chili sauce?
Well, that's our special chili sauce. That's our special recipe. We haven't given that out yet, but you'll be the first to get it, Chris. When we do, you'll be the first to get that recipe.
With D.C.'s COVID restrictions finally lifted, customers are coming back to Benny's, and they can still find Virginia Ali at the grill.
I like to turn them one at a time.
Cooking up those half smokes. Why are you still working?
I don't know that I call it work. When you do something that you enjoy, it's not so hard. And you've been coming for 25 years. That's pretty cool. And meeting people, Chris, from all walks of life, just there at Ben's Chili Bowl. I just have a good time every day.
If you want to check out that special secret chili sauce, Virginia says there are plans to start bottling it and putting it on a shelf in your grocery store. And that's it for today. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Fox News Sunday.
Good Sunday morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday Morning Futures. I'm Maria Bartiromo. Coming up, not so Neanderthal after all. The country follows Texas, where masks are off and COVID-related deaths, hospitalizations, and cases continue to go down. Governor Greg Abbott on COVID, the border, and the Biden agenda coming up, with new weapons, ammunition, and narcotics seized at the southern border this week, along with 178,000 people apprehended in the month of April. Then from Texas to the Middle East, to Russia and China. Joe Biden's foreign policy blunders. Former National Intelligence Director John Ratcliffe on the advice he gave the Biden administration on the way out and why they ignored it. Plus, in Gaza today, will the ceasefire hold? Then breaking news, the clock is running on Joe Biden's summer plans to jam through as much tax and spend policy as possible. Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton on where the radical agenda stands, including Biden's plans to give the U.S. Treasury direct surveillance of the flows in your bank account. Then surveillance, theft, and deadly experiments from the heavy hand of Communist China. Here's Congressman Devin Nunes on this program last week.
I think they're sitting on and suppressing a lot of intelligence that the American people, should see in order to know how to move ahead over the coming next few years as China continues to gain control of the life science arena and the life science global economy. They're trying to move all this technology back to China while at the same time not answering basic questions about the origin of this virus.
World Health Organization advisor Jamie Metzo on the growing chorus of voices demanding answers on how the pandemic started and why China is trying so hard to stop an investigation. As Dr. Fauci now says, well, maybe COVID did not develop naturally after all. All that and more right here, right now on Sunday Morning Futures. And first this morning, Texas reached a major milestone last week, recording an entire day without any COVID-19 deaths for the first time since March of 2020. The good news does not stop there. The Lone Star State also with the lowest number of COVID-related hospitalizations in more than 11 months and the lowest 7-day positivity rate since this pandemic began. This leaves President Biden with egg on his face after he criticized Governor Greg Abbott for dropping the mask mandate and reopening Texas in March. Take a watch.
We are on the cusp of being able to fundamentally change the nature of this disease because of the way in which we're able to get vaccines in people's arms. We've been able to move that all the way up to the end of May to have enough for every American, to get every adult American to get a shot. And the last thing we need is the Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime, everything's fine, take off your mask, forget it.
Joining me right now is the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott. And Governor, it's always a pleasure. Thanks very much for being here. Congratulations on your leadership and good judgment. Give us an update on where Texas stands today.
Listen, the numbers just continue to improve. To put all of this in context, from the very beginning, many businesses remained open, and then back in October, businesses opened up at 75%, and then, as you pointed out, in March, we had the entire economy open up 100%, and no more masks. And, of course, President Biden and the Democrats railed against it. You heard what President Biden said. Other Democrats said that I had issued a death warrant. And then, as you pointed out, we continue to have a decline in deaths after we open up 100% until we reach that mark of a day with 0 deaths. And hospitalizations continue to go down even more. The number of cases and